Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring Midnight, Legacy of Darkness. If you haven't seen part 1 of my review featuring this Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition setting where evil rules and being good is considered a sin, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about the world as it was. The Midnight campaign setting focuses on Erythror, one of the largest continents of Aryth. The continent of Erythror is a vast land with a geography as varied as its people. Erythror is a single huge land mass, flanked by several large islands to the south. The Casmael Sea washes against the southern and western shores, and to the east the vast emptiness of the Pale Ocean lies between Erythror and the lands of the Old Empire. Erythror was invaded from across the sea by barbarian raiders from the Dornland River Valley on the continent of Peluria in the middle of the First Age. The Dorns warred with the elves of Erythror and the dwarves of the Caladrons before finally forging a lasting peace. At the end of the First Age, the Dorns joined with those elves and dwarves to throw back the malign forces of the Shadow in the north. Two major mountain ranges extend from the frozen north. The Caladron Mountains run the length of the eastern coast to the southern shores of Iredane and beyond to the island of Asmadar. They are young as mountains go, but ancient in the lives of the peoples of Aryth. They are steep with high glaciers and deep snows even in the south. They hide 1,000 secret valleys and spawn countless crystal streams. The Highborn Mountains in the west extend only part way to the southern sea, becoming low hills as they reach central Erythror. These mountains are older still than the Caladrons, and though they no longer reach so high, they are no less rugged. Within their reaches are cold and hidden places, and there too dwell Isrador's vile followers and many other foul creatures. The Great Forest of Erythror is a massive, continent-spanning wood that covers most of western Erythror. The forest reaches from the cold north through temperate lands to the tropical south, and within its borders are woodlands of every type. The northern forest is a cold realm of evergreens, cedars, and winter oak. This boreal wood is home to the Erunsil elves, and spends much of the year under heavy snows. The central expanse is full of hickory, homewood, and elf pine. It is home to the Caransil elves, the fabled tree city of Aradil, and the high court of the Witch Queen. The Miransil elves live along the southwestern coast, and the Danusil live in the wet rainforest of southern Erythror. The vast central plains of Erythror are flanked by the High Caladrons in the east and Erythror in the west. Their deep black soils and tall grasses reach from the frozen wastes of the northern marches to the warm coastal plains of southern Erenland. Three great rivers, the Ishensa, the Torbrun, and the Gamaril, converge in the heart of the Northlands to form the vast freshwater sea of Peluria. The climate of Erythror was once a docile and temperate one, with cold winters and pleasant summers in the Northlands, warm sun in the central plains, and balmy days year-round in the far south. Since the rise of Isrador and his legates' wanton use of dread magics, the winds have fouled and turned the once benign climate into a brutal weapon against the people of Erythror. Now, winter never seems to relinquish its hold on the Northlands, and snows sometimes fall there even in high summer. People and animals have died because of this. The Caladron Mountains are buried under unnatural snowfalls, and year-round freezing winds blow out from the mountains, chilling the high plains. In the south, a constant pall blocks out the sun, and little rain falls to water native plants and dying crops. During the First Age, the ancient kingdoms of the elves in Erythror and the dwarves in the Caladrons were the greatest civilizations of Aryth. Erythror was again invaded in the Second Age, this time by the conquering armies of Sarcosa, the old empire of Peluria. The Sarcosan Empire was a great civilization of advanced knowledge and science from the continent of Peluria. The Sarcosans battled the elves of Erythror, cutting and burning deep into the fringes of the great forest. Settlers from the old empire poured into Iredane and built great cities along the southern coasts. Their hold on the southern regions of Iredane secured, the Sarcosans turned their attention to the Dornish monarchs in the north. After years of war, the Dorns were finally beaten, and the Northland's monarchs surrendered their crowns to the lords of the southern cities. Despite the Dorns' defeat, their might was not broken, and in time, they were able to work past their old enmities and join the Sarcosan colonial lords to throw off the rule of the old empire. When the Sarcosan and Dornish forces destroyed a great imperial armada at the island fortress of Stormhold, the old empire's power in Eredane came to an end. Rule of the kingdom of Erenland was shared by great houses tracing their lineage to the Sarcosan colonial aristocracy and the Dornish clans. The heartland of Erenland was, and still is, populated primarily by common folk who share the mixed Dorn and Sarcosan heritage. In the Third Age, they were farmers, herders, and craftspeople who lived lives of simple prosperity and peace in their bountiful land. The Central Plains also continue to serve as home to scattered tribes of halfling hunters and herders. The halflings are a fey people descended from the elves of the southern rainforests of Erythror, and they are renowned for their skill with leatherwork and with growing things, and for the great wolf-like Vogren the nomads ride on the hunt. The Eren River winds through central and southern Erenland, from the Sea of Peluria all the way to the Casmael Sea. This verdant river valley has been the homeland of the gnomes since the First Age. Their river barges sail up and down the Eren, and their raft towns are scattered all along the river and the shores of the Great Lake the gnomes call the Goyle. The elven people in Erythror are still ruled by Aradil, of the line of Shadiul, who has held the throne in the great tree city of Caradul for thousands of years. Aradil is a sorcerer without rival, and ancient even by the standards of the long-lived elves. Some believe she is an immortal dragon, or spirit manifested in mortal form. Others say she is a god who fell from the celestial realm during the Sundering. To most, she is simply the Witch Queen of Erythror, an elemental and mysterious presence in the great forest, the beloved leader and protector of her people. Erythror is divided historically and geographically into four great woods: the Veradin in the north, the Karahin in central Erythror, the Myralin along the western coast, and the Arun in the south. The heart of both the great forest and the nation of elves within it, the Karahin is home to the great city of Caradul and the Witch Queen's court. The Veradin straddles in the northern waters of the Itheris and Gamaril rivers and lies in the shadow of the ancient Highborn Mountains. This region and the elves who live there are on the front lines of the Shadow's assault on Erythror. The Myralin lies along the western coast of Eredane, where the great forest meets the endless ocean. The elves of the Myralin build their dwellings in great mangrove forests and depend on the ocean for their fortune and prosperity. The people of the southern Arun rainforest are the foremost scholars and historians of the elves, but the southern rainforest is an often harsh place that is infested with fell beasts and demons trapped on Aerith by the Sundering. Eredane is flanked on the east by the great Caladron Mountains, an ancient range of soaring peaks and deep, rugged valleys. The Caladrons are home to the scattered and often contentious dwarven clans of Eredane. There are other lands beyond the Pale Ocean and the Casmael Sea, but the people of Eredane had little knowledge of them before the last battle, and now are almost completely ignorant of foreign shores. This concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about a very tragic and dreadful event, the Shadow in the North and its advance. As you can see, even though there are some difficulties concerning wars and getting along with your neighbors, so to speak, the setting itself was perhaps idyllic, considering that all of the different species and races were getting along. So let's see how that changes with the Shadow in the North. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.